How do they then go about getting that evidence in so they can argue this stuff, or will they even be able to get it in?
Well, it's going to have to be very skillfully done by the attorneys. But I think it can be done, and it should be done, because it definitely goes to show that there was a cover-up going on. And if they're able to get this evidence in, I think it's very, very helpful for the defense, because they sold the house right after. They got rid of a family dog, seven years in the family, and they made renovations or changes to that house. That's really strong evidence for the defense showing that there was a cover-up. So it can be done, it should be done. It's just a matter of will the judge allow it.
And on the other side, was he reasonable at shooting at this person who he has admitted was maybe about 100 yards from his house? Can that person reasonably think that that person represented a real threat to his or his family's life?
Yeah, that's going to be the question, right? Because the jury considering this is going to really ask themselves, 100 yards away, this gentleman gets shot 9 times. Is that something that a reasonable person in danger or fear of his life and his family's safety would do? Shoot somebody from 100 yards away 9 times. And that's where it gets really hard to really see that there's a justification for this, because it just doesn't seem like there's a way out for the defendant here.
Quickly, Miguel, we heard from Melanie Gibb in the Prophet murder trial, the Doomsday Prophet murder trial. Did she move the ball for the prosecution? And how much headway was made by John Pryor on cross?
I don't think she made as much progress for the prosecution as the prosecution wanted to. The defense attorney was, I thought, poked a lot of holes in her testimony. They made her, or he made her look like she was very unreliable, changing her story and she did not remember. So I think at the end of the day, obviously the information about the portals and the darkness, that stuff was good. But when you have a witness on the stand that is waffling in terms of what they remember and what they don't, that's never really good with the jury.
Yeah. All right, let's bring back in our guests. Still with us, of course. Joining us is David Yena and Miguel Custodio as well. Miguel, let me start with you. What do you make of this alibi defense? I mean, I'm going to coin it the stargazing defense, basically. I mean, it's not very specific. They don't have to be super specific, but was he running? Was he out there for a hike, at 4 o'clock in the morning? Was he stargazing? Which was it? They don't really specify, but that's something he liked to do at night. What do you make of it?
Well, it's an alibi. I mean, is it the strongest one? Absolutely not. Is it vague? Yes. Is it general? Yes. At the end of the day, his phone was turned off for 2 hours, and it fits right around the time that the murders happened. He, by all accounts, he was somebody that was a little aloof, and this just doesn't really seem like it's going to be a very strong defense. I'll be very honest. I think they're going to have a really hard time making any inroads with the jury. But this alibi doesn't really, it doesn't inspire any confidence in the defense's argument.
So that may explain why they wanted to wait to get all of the discovery before putting forth this particular alibi, waiting to see if the state gave them what they found out through their own expert might be exculpatory information. What do you make of that?
Well, I think, especially with this case has played out already in the public eye, in the media. There's a huge media circus and frenzy with this case. And so I really think, along with the family of the Gonsalves victim, that they should have submitted this alibi a long time ago. If it's going to be this general, if it's going to be this vague, just why didn't they say it a long time ago? And honestly, the defense going again or alleging that the prosecution's investigation was shoddy or it was sloppy, I mean, we've seen that all the time. So it wouldn't be something new. I really do think that this should have been the defense. If they really wanted to, they should have put this alibi out a long time ago and try to sway public perception, which would have really helped Koberger's case.
Yeah, and Miguel, that's the part that kind of gets me, is this idea that there's the grandmother, right? Her son is not around. He wasn't married to this woman, but had children with her. He was in rehab. So he's killing the mother of these children, and that's not something that sort of registers with these folks when they go out. Again, innocent until proven guilty, but we'll go over some of the evidence they currently have, which really points to guilt in this case, of course, provided by the prosecution. But your thoughts quickly.
Well, in a lot of custody battles, and especially when there's violence involved or murders, one side, usually the side that's being alleged to have committed the murders, are in dispute with the other parent or family member because they think that that person is not suitable to spend time with the children, either visit supervised or unsupervised. But yet, by committing this crime, if they are guilty, what happens is that the children are then going to have to go into a foster system or some government thing like that, and that just really defeats the whole purpose. I mean, if you were really looking out for the kid's safety, why would you kill the mom? I mean, if anything, just go to court and try to deny them custody that way. But here we are.
And the daughter of one of the people arrested said that she heard them talking about this. So, Miguel, when you talk about some of the evidence, as I said earlier, innocent to proven guilty, but things seem to be piling up here against this group.
Especially the testimony the evidence from the daughter that she gave to police investigators, saying that the family was part of this misfits group and that there had been an attempt to kill the mother back in February. And obviously these things start piling up, and it just starts looking really grim for the defendants, because if your own daughter is kind of turning you over to the cops, then you're in big trouble.
I mean, clearly, it's easy to understand, Miguel, why there's a lot of skepticism on this. And quite frankly, as a defendant, you can't control your alibi. I mean, he clearly, from all accounts, was kind of a loner. I do know people who prefer to be alone, who do things at night, are night people, and go out and run at night and do various things. So while it may seem odd, and certainly he's not a likable fellow at the moment with the charges against him, you got to keep an open mind on this.
It's going to be tough for the jurors to do that, whether it's in that particular venue or if the judge happens to grant the defendant's motion to move the venue. But it doesn't seem like, and this question brought up by the viewer is a little bit humorous, but it brings up very common sense things, right? Well, all of a sudden between 2 and 4, you decide to turn off your phone and you're stargazing, or you went for a run, which I don't know who goes for runs at that time of day. But there's also very incriminating evidence that he was driving around the area where the murders occurred about a dozen times prior to this murders. So it's just a little too much, I think. And even though jurors have to keep an open mind, I really think it's going to be hard for them to really, really be impartial on this.
Because there's a lot of white Hyundai Elantras around. If there's some way that they can show that this was not his car, that a close-up of a license plate or something along that line, that could possibly help, don't you think?
It'll help a little bit, but what you just said about this park, the fact that he's saying he was at a park that is gated up from sundown to sun up. I mean, it's just it's hard to really kind of justify all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, nobody's alleging that the car did any of the murders. It's really the defendant, right, Kohlberger. So maybe it wasn't that vehicle, but at the end of the day, I think there's just too many things that are piling up against them to really see this as a case that he's going to be able to win.
All right. Well, Miguel Custodio, David Yenna, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Truly appreciate it, guys. Great stuff. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. Coming up next, we're going to review the 3 things that we've learned today in the cases that we've been covering from coast to coast right here on Court TV.